Well, good evening and welcome along once again to the reality check with Bluebus here on Flipping the Pyramid. It's Monday evening, it's just gone 8 o'clock. It's the 23rd of July, 2012. And he said 1985 there for some reason. But yeah, 2012. Welcome along, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. And welcome along to Flipping the Pyramid. Just want to talk a little bit about the site as well, and just like to say thanks to all the people who are contributing to the site and putting articles up, etc., etc. And a big shout out to Lee, Red Eye Jedi, because he's the sort of master brains behind the website, so to speak. So many thanks for all the work that you put in, and everybody else, and all the other presenters, etc. I don't think I've said that since I've been doing my shows, but all the work we do here, it's all regular guys just doing what we do, making sense of it all, and coming together as a group to search for truth amongst all the bullshit, etc. But welcome along. It's finally a sunny day. We've had a couple of nice days up in this part of the world, up in Wales. I'm sure the rest of the country's had some nice weather too, but after about 2 months or so, it seems, of constant rain. Interestingly enough, the Olympic Games opening ceremony starts on Friday, and we have nice weather. Is there something going on? As we say many times, precipitation, cloud seeding, who knows what these guys are getting up to, but yeah, and stories this week, well, wow, the big one being the Colorado Batman shooting. I'm going to sort of go into that a little bit, not go too much into it, but just sort of, there's that much going on with this story at the moment. It's stuff coming out all the time from, mainstream media plus, alternative media, people putting two and two together and not really sort of knowing really what's to make of it, really. I mean, the sad fact is that 12 people have died, or many injured, and I'm sure that's not what they were expecting when they went out to see the movie. So the whole thing is an horrific story, really, but it just kind of sheds light on what's what goes on with in the deeper aspects of mind control techniques, etc. When you want to delve down those avenues and see what you read into this guy's history a little bit, and there's been plenty coming out regarding his use of drugs. I'm not sure which drug it was now, but he was on the same drug apparently as Heath Ledger, who funny enough linked to Batman. There's all this stuff going on, but the fact of the matter is the attention, if you like, is being focused over here. So just sort of had looked at lots of different news stories regarding this, and sort of wanted to come up with something that was just a little bit more of an oversight, really. I mean, this guy, James Holmes from Aurora in Colorado, burst into cinema shooting randomly, apparently, as part of the attack. He's got his red hair, painted himself up like the Joker, one of the arch enemies of the DC comic-inspired Batman movie series. So, the whole thing, just from that point of view, beggars belief. Because according to news reports, this sudden violent rampage was completely out of character for James Holmes, who was described as shy. Yeah, so shy guy, no previous record. I think the only thing he'd had was a parking ticket or a parking fine or whatever. But up until then, nobody had, thought that this person would behave in this way. So the New York Times is now reporting he was a pre-med student at the University of Colorado, and he was studying, which I found quite interesting, neuroscience. He was doing a PhD in neuroscience, which seemed a bit interesting. But the whole story, really, I mean, people have gone into this. I'm sure people have looked into the ins and outs, but the behaviour just doesn't add up. And when you look at all of the evidence to support that, etc. Sort of like, how did he get money to supply, to buy these weapons? On, just a student. He had these high-priced weapons, etc., which were, not easily available. you couldn't just walk into a store and pick these things up off the counter. He had gas canisters, etc. He had military-grade equipment, basically, which was being used by himself to carry out this attack, apparently. And there's been links to another person involved. There's been, all sorts of eyewitness accounts. So the whole thing is it's a terrible tragedy, and it links to all the other tragedies they've had in the States. Columbine being one that I can think of. Plenty of others. Lots of massacres, lots of innocent people just being shot by so-called crazy people. But are they really, crazy? Are they triggered in some way? Are they being manipulated and controlled or conditioned in some way by somebody? It's interesting this guy was into neurosciences, etc. That does seem a little bit suspicious in the fact that, he's appeared in court today looking very sort of, not, almost like drugged up, or reports of him looking very, not with it, out of it type of effect. What has he been, subjected to, or even, ingested or taken? So none of it seems to add up really, as some just random guy who just suddenly decides to go and get these weapons, go out and shoot all these people just like that. It just doesn't happen that way. So there's lots more to come from this, I'm sure. But it's, again, is a distraction. American elections coming up. Various, all the American media, no doubt, are focused on this one story in the state at the moment. All the, president-to-be and, ex-presidents, whatever, are all stepping in, giving their condolences, etc. All trying to get some sort of an interesting thing I did see. I think it was Obama saying, the people were, even though they were upset, they were reminiscing about their family and being joyful. And I'm thinking that's a weird thing to say. But, it's just, the whole story just stinks, basically, of something really sinister and underhand going on. And we've discussed this ourselves, regarding, people who have been under some kind of influence. I mean, Mark Chapman, who shot John Lennon, for instance, an interesting character who, again, didn't have any previous, but just suddenly went out and, flipped and shot this, shot this most famous, I suppose, pop star in the world at the time. But the fact that these guys just suddenly switch from being, normal, normal within a sick society, so to speak, but just suddenly turn in that way, it doesn't kind of make much sense to people like us looking from the outside. It doesn't make any sense at all. And with the way the media are now covering it in the States and over here, and with our, tabloids really getting into it in a big way, the waters will be muddied. It'll all go away, and the real reasons behind this guy's so-called switch in character will never really be found out. As say the guy who shot John Lennon, he's still locked up to this day. So these people could never, when they become obviously stabilised again, and they can either look back at what they've done, the horrific sort of carnage they've created. It's just, it boggles the mind really. We had the Norway shootings last year as well. That was another example of somebody just going completely crazy. And these guys sort of pre-plan it. There was booby traps at his apartment, and the same with the Norway shooting. The guy apparently was responsible for blowing up the Parliament buildings, and then went and did the rampage on the island in Norway. So it's interesting how a similar theme sort of seems to be coming up, how these sorts of things are taking place, and where did he get the money from? Where did he get the money for these weapons? These things don't cost small amounts of money. I think there's still somewhere how much these things actually are costing. But like I say, the story's been continually updated, but it does, let's just say, something fishy going on here. But the story that I sort of saw, which sort of collated a lot, most of it was off of Natural News, believe it or not. At least they put together a few of the statements and etc. of what was going on, and trying to sort of make some sort of sense of it all. But the guy was wearing his SWAT clothing, had explosives. He managed to put together complex booby traps in his apartment. all on his own apparently. This is this just doesn't seem possible. And the apartment was full of like sophisticated maze of flammable devices, and apparently it's taken hours or days for the authorities to dismantle this stuff. This is in his apartment. So, again, I don't want to sort of dwell too much on it, but again, there's going to be lots of, conspiracy porn flying around regarding this story. But like I say, it's come off the back of many so-called mass shootings in the last few years. So like I say, the most recent one before this was the Norway one, and in America they've had many over the years. So yeah, but I was going to read it out, but I don't think I can be bothered to read it all out, guys. It's just too much information here, and I want to crack on. But another story, I want to thank Nick for this link. One of the reasons why I think these things are happening, say with this Colorado shooting, is to get you to look over there, while over here they're doing something else. And Syria is a great example of that. And Nick posted this link in Skype the other day, which I caught. So I thank him for that. I was looking through this, and this comes out of the voltairenet.org, and it's "The Battle of Damascus Has Begun," and it's been written by Thierry Mason, I think it is, who wrote a book, I think, on 9/11. Can't remember what it's called now, but he's a well-researched French, what they like to consider on sites like Wikipedia, conspiracy journalist type, and this story came out of there, and it was people on the ground, people who are knowing what's going on. The information's coming from sources that are directly linked to what's going on the ground, like I say. But it says, over the past 5 days, Washington and Paris have launched an attack operation dubbed Damascus Volcano and Syrian Earthquake. It is not a new campaign of aerial bombardment, but a secret military operation similar to the one used in Central America during the Reagan era. It says within a few days, and I read this and I was like, yeah, I can kind of get this, because you think, okay, within a few days, I reckon 40 to 60,000 Contras, mostly Libyans, entered the country. Within a few days, they've already done this, obviously. Entered the country, most often via the Jordanian border. The majority of them are attached to the Syrian Free Army, a secret operations front for NATO under Turkish command. Some are affiliated with groups of fanatics, including Al-Qaeda, under Qatar's command, or factions of the Saudi royal family, the Sudari. Along the way, they took some border posts and then moved to the capital, where they have sown confusion by attacking random targets, police groups, or isolated military. And on Wednesday morning last week, an explosion destroyed the national security headquarters, and as we know, the Syrian generals Hassan Tamani, Dard Raja, and Assad Shakat died on the field. On the field of honor on the 18th of July 2012. They were wiped out in this explosion that took place at the national security headquarters, and the mode of attack remains uncertain. It could have been either a suicide bomber or a stealth drone, it says here. It says Washington hoped that the partial decapitation of the military would lead some senior officers to defect with their units, or even to turn against the civilian government. And as it says here, this hasn't happened. President al-Assad immediately signed decrees appointing successors. The seamless continuity of the state was ensured. It says in Paris, Berlin and Washington, sponsors of the operation continued their unworthy game of condemning terrorist action while reaffirming their political and logistical support for the terrorists. Shamelessly, they concluded that the responsibility for these killings lay not with the culprits, but with the victims, and that they had refused to resign under pressure and surrender their homeland to Western rapacity. You just can't believe this stuff, can you? I'll give my take on it. It says Caracas and Tehran have sent their condolences to Syria, stressing that the attack was sponsored and funded by Western Gulf powers. Moscow also expressed condolences and affirmed that requesting Security Council sanctions against Syria amounted to political support for the attacking terrorists. National television channels have begun to broadcast military clips and patriotic songs several times per hour. And it was an interesting that also the there was another story linked to this actually about the Arab Sat and Nilesat satellites being sort of hijacked and duplicate channels being put out as well. If you went on these two satellite receiver links, and they've been using all sorts of techniques to completely utterly propagandize the whole event. People who are tuning into, say, Arabsat or Nilesat, for instance, they have the technology now to duplicate and put out other types of information, thinking you're watching official Syrian TV. Very clever stuff. They get into every angle, as we know. So if you're just in the Middle East and you're watching Syria unfold and are completely unaware, well, if you're watching their news reports, they'll just be the same as they are over here, I suppose. Completely just one-way traffic about, basically dismantling the regime and starting again. That's what the angle is with Syria, and they're doing everything they can to convince everybody that this needs to be done and carried out. And it's a shocking it's shocking to think the interference by again other nations into a sovereign nation like Syria, who have their own government, their own people, their own systems, their own culture. And we saw this with Libya, and Western powers coming in and manipulating regime change through civil war, almost through arming rebels who are getting into the country, as we saw there through Jordan and through other borders. Al-Qaeda, crazy guys who just love killing, who are just completely with the war machine and will fight for anybody if the price is right. And it's the only way they know. But this is what they use. They use these mercenaries, these guys who will carry out these atrocities. And it's a technique being used for a long time. It's nothing new. And we should be more aware of it, even though we are here. But I think with the propagandized media, it's very difficult to break down that conditioning with certain people who will go with the mainstream, or will think they're even going to an alternative site that's based in the Middle East, when in fact it's just the same propaganda. So it's just interesting that in that country there's people invading, so to speak, and the people on the ground are defending themselves. Of course you would. Someone's invading your country, who are bombing things and blowing things up and causing death. And what else are you going to do? You fight for your rights. I'm sure if somebody was invading this country, the same thing would apply. People would defend their right, especially if people are dropping bombs on them. It says the bomb attack was the signal for the second part of the operation. It says commandos infiltrated the capital, then attacked various more or less chosen targets. Thus a group of about 100 Contras attacked the house adjacent to my apartment, and the cry of Allah Akbar. A senior military official resides there. 10 hours of uninterrupted fighting ensued. It says, whereas at the beginning of the night the army responded with measure, the order was later given to use force without restraint. It was no longer a question of fighting against terrorists destabilizing Syria, but of saving the country facing an undeclared alien invasion. Aircraft went into action to destroy the columns of mercenaries heading to the capital. It says, by late morning, calm was gradually returned to the city. The Contras and their collaborators were forced to withdraw everywhere. Traffic was resuming on major roads, and checkpoints were installed in the city centre. Life was returning to normal. However, we still hear scattered gunfire here and there. Most businesses are closed, and there are long queues outside bakeries. Everyone expects that the final assault will be launched on the night of Thursday to Friday, and all day Friday. There is no doubt that the Syrian army will emerge victorious again, the power relationship between being to its advantage. The conscript army is supported by the population, including the domestic political opposition. It's very important that the conscript army is supported by the population. Again, stuff you don't read about or see about over here. It says, as expected, Arabsat and Nilesat had disconnected the Ab Dunya television signal in the middle of the afternoon. The Twitter account of Ad Donia has been hacked by the CIA in order to disseminate false messages announcing a retreat of the Syrian army. Gulf channels have announced a currency collapse prelude to the downfall of the state. The governor of the central bank, Abiy Mayale, intervened on national television to denounce the new disinformation and confirm the exchange rate of 68.3 Syrian pounds per US dollar. It says reinforcements have been deployed around the I can't say this, Umyad Square, I think it is, to protect public television studios, considered a priority target for all enemies of freedom. Replacement studios have been installed in the Rose of Damascus Hotel, where United Nations observers are basking. The presence of these officials, who allowed the perpetration of this attack on the capital without interrupting their idleness, is the de facto protection for Syrian journalists risking their lives attempting to inform their fellow citizens. At the Security Council, Russia and China have for the third time vetoed a draft Western and Gulf resolution to enable international military intervention. Russian and Chinese representatives have tirelessly denounced propaganda aimed at portraying the foreign attack against Syria as a revolt repressed with bloodshed. It says the Battle of Damascus is expected to resume tonight. So again, information that is not widely available coming out, which paints a more realistic picture, I think, of what is actually going on in this country. And as we know, as we've said and continue to say, the interference of Western powers who just want to, if you like, control that area to appease the Israelis. Israel is under threat all of the time. Oh, is it really? It seems to me they're doing most of the aggressing, if you like. But this is what's happening. It happened in Libya, and they used Gaddafi as the, if you like, the reason, crazy man, crazy dictator, etc. To appease the masses for another invasion of another Middle East country, and it all went ahead, as far as they were concerned, without a hitch. Forget about the bloodshed, the bombing, the innocent people dying. But apparently Libya now has freedom. I'm sure if you go there, you'll find very little freedom. And Syria is just another one they're going to chalk off, hopefully, I think, as a distraction, maybe even when the Olympic Games are on. Who knows? Because these things go through when people are looking the other way all of the time. And it seems to be that, they're even talking about, planting little ideas into the matrix. Says Syria will not use chemical weapons on its own people. This comes out of the BBC. And considering what I've just said about the propaganda, again, the use of chemical weapons on its own people, Syria will not use them. This is what again. It's putting that these people have this. It's the fear factor. Syria has said it will not use chemical weapons against its own people, but would do so against an external attack. Well, yes. I mean, would you use chemical weapons though? You see what I'm saying? The whole thing is to demonize this country has been some rogue state who have these awful weapons that they're going to use on other people who attack them, and it's all used to just basically confuse the issue. And like I say, people will buy into it, and when a complete regime change happens, if it does happen, then most people will just look the other way. They don't care. Again, it's a mess, and my heart goes out to the people who are suffering in these types of wars across the planet, across the world. We live here, we have our safety. We seem to think, but to be in those countries, to imagine living in that kind of condition, to have your house bombed, to have your home taken away, to have your family killed or taken away and never seen again. Women, children, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to these people. They don't care. Destroying families, destroying lives just seems to be, a kind of drug to them, a kind of elixir, like a buzz they get from it. And we've seen that many times with the, in Iraq, where we have high fives in Apache helicopters after they've blown away innocent people on the ground. They can't wait to chalk up another score. It's sick. It's absolutely sick, and it does turn my stomach. And to think that people are having to put up with this on this planet right now, it beggars belief, really. But Anyway, I'm going on a bit. I don't want to go too gloom and doom, but the thing is, we know about these things. We're aware of them. We should be. Anybody talks to me about Syria now, well, I tell them, not many do, of course. But if somebody is, wanting to know more detail or wanting to find out, direct them to Flipping the Pyramid or these websites, or do some information digging, find out, and or just use your common sense as well. Most of these things, I was talking earlier this afternoon to some of the guys, and a lot of it we know anyway. We already know it's wrong. We already know these things are wrong. We don't need them. Like I said last week, it doesn't need to be written in a book, but we feel powerless to prevent our so-called leaders and army or whatever from just doing what the hell they like. An army only has an army of people who are in the army. As awareness grows and things like that, who knows? We don't need an army of people with weapons. We need an army of people with minds and knowledge. That's the power. And when we can get those numbers up, then we'll have said we've achieved it, or we're achieving something good, and run out of town these haters, these people who hate things. They hate people, they hate everything. They're the people who need removing, marched out of town, or put on a shuttle and sent off to some faraway galaxy so they never can do any harm to anybody else. I don't know. I don't advocate killing or violence in any shape or form, so they just have to go. Go. But anyways, I'll have a short break, so I'm going to come back and chat a bit more about some other stories that have been out this week. Music wise, I've spent some time actually choosing some music for a change, which I don't normally get time to do, so that's been quite good. So welcome back. Come back in half an hour, and in a few minutes for the next half an hour. Getting all my words mixed up for the reality check, and I'm going to play. What have I got? Oh yes, this is a good tune. I'm going to play this. Marching the Hate Machine into the Sun. This is Thievery Corporation. Hope you like this, and I'll be back in about 4 minutes.
We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Hi, and welcome back. Thought I'd do 2 in a row there, a bit impromptu, but I needed time to go and do something else for a few minutes, so yeah, 2 songs there. That was D Sharp, I think it was, Easy Money, from, if you're as old as me, from the 70s sometime. And before that, what was it I played? Oh yeah, that was Marching the Hate Machine into the Sun, Thievery Corporation. All very relevant. Yes, money. Yes, the power of money. Easy money. That went out to all the corrupt politicians. All of them. They're all corrupt. And all the leaders. Yes, you get the sniff of money and off you go. And you just, carry on the machine as it is. And that's the allure of the cash, of the gold. But seeing beyond that, and seeing a world where we could have what we've got right now even, but just without all of the shit and all of the greed and all of the illegal taxation and everything else that goes along with it. Will we ever see the day? I hope so. Maybe this lifetime. Who knows? But welcome back anyway to Reality Check with Bluebus. It's Monday evening, second half of the show. Going on to about 9-ish. Could be a bit run over, but it doesn't matter. We're under no sort of time restrictions here. Ad-free, commercial-free. We're not selling anything here. Only knowledge. If you want to go and find out for yourself, do so. Like we said many times, the stuff we present here is stuff you can find out for yourselves. Do your own thinking. Come to your own conclusions, etc. Just see what's going on around you. Take a bigger look. Don't just stop at one point. Keep learning, keep looking, keep finding out more and more, and don't always ask the questions. And you'll find that you'll come up with some amazing sort of insights for yourself, and that's the sort of awareness point, or getting knowledge, or becoming more empowered not an ego empowerment, I have to say, even though I know people who do want to sort of get out there and give their version, and this is this is the truth. But really and truly, when we boil it down, we don't really know really anything. It's a question of personal. It's a personal journey. But as I said before, we need to become more, I think, just more in ourselves, more mature and more balanced. And we still have fun and have a laugh and all the things we do, but I think the way in which we're being told, especially through mainstream media, propaganda and subliminal stuff, advertising, we're all supposed to be against each other, and that's not what we're here for. We're here to build bridges and make new communities, new groups, and come together with an aim of putting an end to corruption and people just taking your money off you and threatening you, etc. I've had a few instances of that. I know someone this week with bailiffs, etc. These fearful letters, these things they try and do to us. These, get yourself informed, find out, what your real rights are, find out who you are and what you're doing here, and what, get an angle on the timelines and things. Realize that history isn't what you think it is, and it's not conspiracy. It's you do enough digging, and there's plenty of evidence there. It's all around us. It's whether we whether we choose to understand the knowledge and how we digest the knowledge, etc., and what we sort of take from that. Some of it could be 80% not very interesting, but there could be that odd 20% that just think, yeah, well, that was worth listening or reading or whatever. But there's something there, and there's signs everywhere to tell you to think again about what really you're being told is the truth. And it's everywhere where we look. So, yeah, end of waffle. But like I say, there was one story here which I wanted to kind of worry me a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of stories regarding, and we have seen for a while now, obviously with the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, we've seen a lot of this drone aircrafts and unmanned aircrafts being used to spy, drop bombs, and an interesting story came out this week from our propaganda machine, the BBC. Again, just to give you some examples of how they're sort of planting these ideas to make these things a common occurrence. In you look up to the sky and you see a helicopter. Well, that's nothing new. You look up to the sky, you see a plane. Well, again, that's nothing new. You look up to the sky and you see a drone. That looks like a weird-shaped, six-figured or spider-looking thing with rotor blades flying above you. Well, that would be weird, but, by planting these ideas and stories in, they're getting it to be, if you do see one, you'll just look, it doesn't matter. And this story says, disaster drones, how robot teams can help in a crisis. So they use the fact that these things can be, used to rescue, say, people who've been caught up in earthquakes, etc. And the story says, an ominous plume of black smoke hangs over East London. Now this is how the story starts. It says, the scarcely believable news arrives in snippets. A huge blast has rocked the Thames barrier. A surge of water is ploughing through the city. A sports stadium has collapsed. More explosions reported on Twitter. It says thousands of people are trying to evacuate, but like the banks of the Thames, the mobile networks are overwhelmed. It is time to send in the drones. It says Professor Nick Jennings prefers to call them unmanned aerial vehicles. He is one of the chief scientific advisors of the government and drew up this fictional scenario as part of his multi-million-pound Orchid research project. It says Professor Jennings believes the key to mastering the pandemonium that follows large-scale disasters lies in intelligent, coordinated action between man and machine. What he fails to mention is this is actually going on anyway, but used to kill people. That's the bit that, there's the hypocrisy of this bullshit. Anyway, it says Professor Jennings believes the key to mastering... Sorry, I read that bit. The system he is testing will be ready next year and will allow teams of drones to help emergency services from the air with minimal human supervision. It is yet another non-military spin-off in the burgeoning field of drone technology. So... It says after studying real disasters like the Haiti earthquake of 2010, Professor Jennings realised that the key to successful disaster response amidst all the chaos is the intelligent allocation of tasks and resources, and humans on the ground are not always best placed to make those life and death decisions. It says humans can do things like fill in maps based on what they see, starting from a blank map, which is exactly what happened in Haiti. What buildings are damaged, where the facilities are. I can see where he's coming from with the angle of, getting in there and helping people. I fully support that kind of action. But it's the other stuff that, as we go down this story, there was an interesting little thing he said here. It said, in this proposed system, the UVAs will be launched immediately to monitor the unfolding disaster from the air. They will provide real-time footage to disaster responders on the ground who can request specific information from the drones using handheld electronic devices. They might ask, for example, how stable is the building? We could also have robots on the ground that would go to areas too dangerous for human beings to go to. His team is looking at ways that information from members of the public sent by smartphones could be integrated into this system. Well, if you think about it, your smartphone anyway is already a perfect tool, and I've mentioned this many times with the things that they can do to your phone without you even realizing it. It's a tracking device, basically. It says research into non-military applications for drone technology is a booming area, with companies vying to find commercial applications. From their origins as expensive pieces of military hardware, the price of drones themselves has fallen dramatically, to the point where they are within the budget of the hobbyist. Private individuals are adapting these drones, which are capable of programmable flight paths for their own uses, including everything from wildlife surveillance to farm management. It says BAE Systems recently unveiled its research into technology that could allow pilotless planes to fly in UK airspace, potentially for operations like border control and search and rescue. But what makes Professor Jennings' research stand out is that he is interested in allowing drones to fly as squadrons, improvising their own flight paths as a unit in response to new information without human intervention. The teams of drones that will patrol a disaster area have already been tested in Sydney and Australia. But that, to me, just says it's getting you used to the fact that these things are going to be flying around us in a sort of helpful way, of course. Oh, they're helping us. They're monitoring the borders. They are checking things, and we're going to have these things flying around and people aren't even going to be worrying about them. And we all know literally a spy in the sky, and they'll become so commonplace. People, like I say, will just become, like I say, you look at the sky, see a helicopter. You come sky, see a drone. It'll become a normal type operation, if you like. So it's worrying that this type of technology is beginning to be sold into the masses, and sold in the way that they sell everything. Like we know with everything, they always create the scenario where it's helping people, like we see with the RFID chip potential. Missing children, etc. Know where they are at all times. They try and sell this kind of it will help you aspect of it, and that's how they get it in there. And it's interesting when these stories actually come out and you read them and you think, a person completely unawares, doesn't really give a toss, will look at that and think, okay, whatever. And when he sees one, he's not going to question it. But as we know, the surveillance state, especially over here in the UK, is evident all around with our world record breaking amount of CCTV cameras we have in the country. Everywhere you go these days, you're being filmed, or there's a camera, or like I say, they hack you. They even gather your database information now, online, whatever, your phone, and we know it's been going on. But again, another example of how they're using a drone now as an everyday object, and it's becoming a little bit worrying in my book, especially some of the ones I've seen recently, how small they can be, almost the size of a wasp. And again, they've been working on these types of technologies, nanotechnologies, for quite some time. So this stuff's ready to roll. If not, it was already rolled out, if you like. But getting you used to them and getting you prepared for them is what they're doing here, to be accepted. Again, another example of an Orwellian state. You know, you look up and you've got little drones flying around, buzzing around your head, you know. Crazy stuff. I also saw a story today, and it was yesterday actually, I was flicking through, that this new, again, the hypocrisy of how much money is spent when other people are, you know, desperately needing help, but our government seem to find, you know, literally hundreds of millions of pounds to spend on a jet fighter. So the UK has launched its first F-35 stealth jet, a £100 million fighter that Defence Secretary Philip Hammond claims is the best warplane money can buy. The high-tech plane, blah-de-blah-de-blah, the Defence Secretary, blah-de-blah-de-blah, Lockheed Martin, blah-de-blah-de-blah, the usual shit. £100 million for one of these things. And the story says that over the next 30 years, the whole cost of maintaining this fleet will be listen to this, £1 trillion to maintain this fleet of flying shit with bombs on it. The US government has been criticised for the exorbitant amount of money it is spending on the fighters. Planning to buy, sorry, not the US government, BA Systems test pilot Peter Wilson said the F-35 stealth technology is worth its weight in gold. Amazing that we are spending and quite happily, you know, accepting it for what? You know, just the war machine again, the industrial military complex right across Europe and America. The amounts of money being spent here is obscene, totally obscene. And like we say, we've got these issues about, I don't know, I just don't know where to start sometimes. I'm having a drink of water because it beggars belief, really. Anyways, guys, I want to lighten it up a little bit more because I did see a very, very funny story actually, and it made me laugh. That basically now, if you want a degree now, you don't have to go to university anymore to get your degree, your BA honours or whatever. You can get a job with Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yes, they will put you through university and whatever it is. Get your degree from KFC. Fast food giant launches 3-year business studies course, but there is a catch, and the catch is you can only go on the course if you work for them full time and you do a 45-hour week, and then they'll only pay half. By the way, you've got to find another £4,500 to finance the degree course in restaurant management, and they'll pay the other half. So you know, it's a big thumbs up there for, you know, they're doing well for putting people into, you know, through university, whatever it is. But the whole thing, I mean, it just made me just fucking laugh my tits off. But it says the fast food chain eventually hopes to create 60 new managers, all of whom will have a genuine BA honours degree, courtesy of Colonel Saunders. Yes, I know how to, you know, poison you a bit more. But yeah, the whole thing, I mean, and it says in the story as well, McDonald's have been doing a similar scheme for years, and, you know, you work for these companies and they, you know, the ones who totally into the, like I say, chasing the money aspect of it, want a career, that kind of bullshit, they will go for that, and that to them is a good career. But Jesus, it's like, wake the fuck up. But anyways, interesting nevertheless to see them doing their bit for university education, which we all know is just complete balls anyway, generally. Not all of it is, of course. I mean, I do criticise education quite a bit. I do slag it off. But there are good aspects to being, you know, if you like, reading and writing, learning how to do the basics, learning how to do the skills. But most of the other stuff that is being pushed upon you has been the reality. Generally speaking, is just like everything else we say, it's just a theory. We base everything on these theories. Nobody really knows. But the education system itself is definitely a place where you start to re-educate our young. and not feed them the stuff at the moment that they're being fed through all this, constant. Well, we know it's all just complete bollocks. I'm losing my words here, but you know what I'm saying. It's complete and utter nonsense. We've got to get out of this, way of how we do things, and I suppose being a parent and seeing, when I became a parent, if you like, you can see how they take advantage of parents, children, when first time parents, whatever, when they go to school, because it's so tough. You put them into school, and because you're going to work, and you did that when you were a kid. Your parents put you in, and you don't really. It's just all got to stop. Basically, say home education is the way, is what I want to say. Teach your kids at home if you can, but unfortunately the way the system's set up, it makes it extremely difficult for the majority of people to be able to do that, unfortunately. And it takes a mammoth effort, believe you me, to teach your kids at home, or to have them with you, and all the time, etc., to be able to but it's a different relationship. I mean, it's about balance within yourself. If you can handle your kids being around you continually. I know some people find it quite difficult, but like I say, the whole system where we put them in, we don't realise we're putting them into an education system which isn't really benefiting them to a great deal. They learn the basics, yeah, but the thinking and the ideas that they're being given within that system are moulding what we have to live in today. We're a product, if you like. I'm a product of an education system, but I don't go along with obviously what most of my other say like school kids went through, or my other pupils went through. They're looking at it differently. Everybody looks at it differently, and we just have to, sometimes it's difficult to deprogram someone, is what I'm trying to say. If somebody comes across who's doesn't see it anywhere like you do, they see it from the mainstream, or they see it from, it's very difficult to get through to some people. But anyways, that was one interesting story that I did want to say. But the KFC thing and the McDonald's thing, obviously, if we head back to the Olympic thing, where people have been questioning the sponsorship, if you like, of the Olympic Games, and I did see a very what I call just a weak story, which was council's I think it was the London Assembly are trying to ban McDonald's and Coca-Cola from 2012 Olympics. Now it's the London Assembly. Now don't forget, they've had how many years now? 5 years to sort of realise that this goes on. Coca-Cola and McDonald's are probably the two biggest sponsors of the Olympic Games, and they have the right, so to speak, to do what they like. Sell their products wherever they like. They have complete autonomy. They can sell their products in the stadium, etc. And here we have the London Assembly finally saying that they think it's wrong. The London Assembly, an elected government body that holds the London Mayor accountable to his promises, has voted in favour of calling for an official ban on both McDonald's and Coca-Cola from the 2012 Olympic Games. Yeah, they've called for it, but come on, it's not going to happen. And it says, because many of the products offered by both McDonald's and Coca-Cola, filled with processed sugar, shit and crap, are linked to causing childhood obesity and other illnesses. The London Assembly believes the International Olympic Committee has a responsibility to nix these companies from sponsoring the Games, hosting a lineup of the world's most talented athletes while peddling junk food to the masses. In other words, it is a hypocritical position to take, according to the Assembly. Hey, reality. Yes, it is hypocritical, isn't it? But what are they going to do about it? Nothing. When you dig deeper and you look at the money, you follow the money trail. I think Coca-Cola have been sponsoring the Olympic Games since about 1920, and McDonald's for about 40 years, I think. And they've been heavily involved in advertising, and it just seems ironic that these people are saying it's wrong. I mean, it was wrong in the beginning, you know, but because of the money they pump in, the whole thing's a joke. But anyway, I'm going on and on and on. It's gone 9 o'clock now, but I just wanted to mention as well this nonsense with the opening ceremony in the Olympic Games on Friday. You know, we've seen lots of news reports. We talked about this afternoon as well, and the amount of attention being given to this, and the interesting themes they're using during the opening ceremony, like the Glastonbury tour, for instance. And we mentioned we were getting into a heavy debate about ley lines this afternoon, and energy around the planet, electromagnetic, and you know, lots of questions. And you know, I know something about a little bit. Wouldn't say I don't have all the answers, millions of miles away from all the answers, but you know, got an understanding of, you know, how this links back to history, etc., and the new types of scientific technology they're using to measure electromagnetic vibrations around the planet, etc., and all these different you know, ionospheres and Schumann waves, and you know, there's lots of high-tech stuff there, measuring and you know, confirming what people have known all along, that there's a force around us that does something, but we don't know what it is. We can't, you know, we're unable to tap into it through this, you know, if you like, through our perception, our understanding, and people get a little insight into it through maybe psychotropic drugs, or taking experiences in that way. You know, we've all tried things and seen, you know, and experienced it, and it's almost like stepping out of your consciousness, exploring your consciousness, this sort of thing. But the Olympic Games is a very powerful energy center. So this Friday, you know, we're going to have something, is it like 1 billion people are going to be, you know, tuning in across the planet to see this opening ceremony, and they're using the Glastonbury tour as one of the main sort of features in the opening ceremony, and also this huge dome bell, apparently the biggest bell in the world. So I could think of some things to say, but but yeah, and but interesting enough, the bell will be gonged. They'll gong the bell, and the vibrational frequencies will start to happen, and negative energy, and it's all going on. But you know, it'd be interesting to see what, you know, Friday brings, and how in the next few days after Friday, especially with the way things are being ramped up at the moment. And also, just like to say, I did see Nick's vid. I did a little sort of look in Dropbox this afternoon, and I did see the vid, Nick. Very good. I don't know if it's going up soon, or you've got it up already. But again, another example of you know, troops on the roof of Fredwig Tower, quite happily sort of sitting up there, looking like you know, with their looking like they're just hanging around. And we have you know, a scenario last seen in the Second World War, really, in the UK. The last time so many troops are out on the street. So they're building up to a big, you know, they're worrying about something, or is it just, again, fear? Is it just fear? The big 4-letter word that I always say in these shows. You know, don't buy into it. And hopefully nothing happens. Nothing. But like I say, there's so much happening out in the Middle East, and especially in Syria. I've got a feeling something's going to happen out there, or there's going to be something that they will try and escalate whilst these games are happening. So keep an eye and keep vigilant, and you know, don't be fooled. Question everything. That's my advice. But I'm going to end the show. It's 7 minutes past 9, so I'll play another tune. Thanks, guys, for listening. As always, it's been a pleasure. Don't forget to come back for more shows as well on Flipping the Pyramid. We've got Cookie Monster. Hairy Cookie Monster is on with Virtual Shamanizing on Thursday evening between 9 and 11. We had some technical problems last week with the server, so the show didn't go out, but he's back Thursday. Friday we got Red with his music show. Oh, and also forgot Wednesday we've got a new show, Iron, over there in Amsterdam and Holland. He's doing a punk music show. So if you like your your punk tunes. Tune in for that between 8 and 9 on Wednesday evening. And Sunday evening, we've got Keelan back. He was away on holiday, so we didn't do a Sunday show. He's back on Sunday between 8 and 9. So they're the shows that we've got going on Flipping the Pyramid, and there'll be some more coming along in the very near future as well. So thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll be back next week at the same time between 8 and 9 myself. So like I say, have a good one, guys, and I'm going to leave you with, let's have a look. Oh, yes, I had that much music. I want to play it all, but I can't, so I will play, let's have a look, this one. So have a good one, guys, and I'll speak.
Flipping the Pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk